Hello, my astrology friends. I'm so excited today for the topic with my fellow astrologer, plus esoteric teacher, pedagogue, and anthroposophist, Theo. Hello, Theo.
Hello.
Everyone loves your lectures that you give. The knowledge is so different. It's so you have very deep understanding of esoteric, especially Western esoteric traditions. You've been steeped not only in Bulgaria but in England, in Germany. You've been a head of the youth esoteric organization of Anthroposophy, and so many more titles as well. And so the information that you're going to get today is top notch. It's spiritually tested. It's researched with spiritual scientific methods, and the topic is karmic relationships and incarnations. Yes.
Yikes.
Yes. We love this topic. And by the way, Theo offers a series of 6 lectures on the foundations of anthroposophy. Anthroposophy is the esoteric knowledge given for the creation of our world, for the Western society, by Rudolf Steiner 100 years ago, because he said we are mature enough to receive this knowledge now, which is a scientific understanding of the creation, of the future of humanity, all those secrets, where I'm from, where I'm going, what's the purpose of life. Anthroposophy answers it in a spiritual, scientific way. And Theo has created 6 lectures summarizing out of 27,000 lectures that Rudolf Steiner has. He has summarized for you the foundations, the most important information. He's offering them with a lovely discount, 30% for our viewers. I'll put the link below in the description. Also, if you'd like personal reading with Theo, he's like a spiritual consultant. He also uses astrology, but his deep knowledge, he's more like a guide, like a guru, like someone who helps you get to the big important answers in your
Like a friend.
like a, oh, I wouldn't say only a
I
friend.
wouldn't say guru. That's
Okay, let's
Thank you.
so yes, the topic.
So today, before our video started, I told Lada that today I don't have any presentation because usually I have pictures. But please, Lada, pinch in when you hear something and make connections, because I know you've read a lot and you also have experiences. And anytime that you see that there's correlations between the things I'm saying, I will not have it structured as I usually do, because exactly in the spirit of karmic relationships, it's very wild, the topic.
Wonderful.
So all everybody who's listening or watching to this, let's take karma that it's based into the astral spiritual world. It's not something in the physical world. It's a very fine matter. It's actually where the spirit lives. In Indian mythology, it's called Devakan. Devakan is the place where souls and spirits live when they are not incarnated. And also that's the place when we go to sleep, where we go partially from our higher astral body, because the lower astral body stays partially into near the physical body. And karma has another one. Karma is called the so-called negative, and the dharma is the positive. The dharma are the talents and the good deeds that we've achieved in a previous life, and now that we're eating the fruits, and they're guiding us towards what we need to achieve in a certain incarnation, or as the called North Node. And karma is the past deeds that we have misled ourselves, or we so-called did evil acts or something bad unconsciously, or we didn't know how to act. Karma is a creation because of the freedom that we have been given. And because of the freedom, we separate into karma and dharma. And that's something that higher spiritual beings are not really capable of, with few exceptions, as you know, Lucifer, Ahriman, and etc. Uh, Archangels, let's say, they are not able, they're manufactured not being able to do something bad. So it's very hard for them to have a karma or a dharma. They're just the hands, the fingers, and the eyes of God. So they're not supposed to doing these mistakes. But of course, this is a broad strokes explanation. There's specific subjects that are not um, that they act differently in them, like in Lucifer's situation. So astral body, spiritual, the spirit, the soul, in between them are the reasons why we are able to have karma. Animals are not really capable of developing karma and dharma because they don't have one physical being experiencing all of their experiences. Let's say the white lion. All the white lions together have one soul and one spirit, so they're representatives of one kind, and it's very hard for them to mold a karmic relationship between their. They don't have a past or a next life. Their timeline is very long until the certain kind disappears. Nowadays, we have certain insects or animals that have disappeared completely and are not going to come back into the physical world. So that's like one incarnation for them have left. And they lived for 20,000 years or something like that, just in different times.
So,
For us,
if my cat dies, I shouldn't be expecting it to get reborn as a cat to me or something like that.
no,
Because it doesn't
the
have individual soul, no, individual
no, yes,
spirit.
it also so it doesn't have an individual soul.
Oh,
It's like if you have a glove,
uh-huh.
the animal world. If you have a glove and every glove has 5 fingers, and if we say that's 5 animals from the white lion, that's how the soul of the animals work. The soul puts gloves into thousands of fingers to represent it. And the human being doesn't do that. He just has one place that he incarnates, and that's one body. It doesn't separate to many bodies. So their story in Hinduism and Indian mythology, where they say that a certain spiritual teacher got reborn as a rabbit or as an elephant or something, those are archetypes. It's not the reality that he was born into a rabbit, because higher teachers are able to work on astral bodies from the spiritual world. So he was not incarnated, but he was allowed by the higher beings for him to represent an act through another being. So that doesn't mean he incarnated. He was just, it's like you, I am using a fork now and I'm using a knife later because I'm knowledgeable enough to use them. And that's how spiritual guides and spiritual beings can represent themselves as other a living species, a flower, a spider, or etc.
They can kind of impact the soul, the collective soul of that animal,
Yes,
able to do something, to send you a sign from a loved one or whatever.
yes, exactly. Because they know the rules, the
Mhm.
spiritual rules, how to do that.
Put on the glove. Yeah.
Yeah, with the glove. So that's, I wanted to start with this astral spiritual view, because the first thing I would like to mention is that if my emotional life now is kind of pure, in my next life, I'm impact now in this my life with my purity, I'm impacting my etheric or health body. And through all my life with my purity and calmness, I'm impacting with my etheric body with this calmness and purity. And I'm preparing the etheric body for the next life. So I'm kind of putting a stamp from the astral to the etheric. And in my next life, my etheric body will bear the stamp of the purity and calmness. So it will bring health and beauty to my physical body.
So neurotics like me will be vaccine.
What I don't know if you're neurotic, but yes, if you are very nervous or you easily get distracted and you cannot remember things,
Ah,
that's going to impact your physical, not only the appearance, but the health and the longevity and the strength of your body. That's why in spiritual development they talk about positivity, about calmness, about smiling more, positivity, and etc. Because you not only change your life now, but you impact on your body in your next life.
So your feelings in this lifetime build the physical body and health of the next one.
The etheric body, yes.
Because the etheric one builds the physical after that.
Exactly. So that's how it goes, the cascade. If my astral body, I'm calm in my emotions, I make my etheric health body stronger. And if I eat good foods in a healthy type of way, because that's the easiest thing, or clean water, then I impact on my physical body, on my bones, my skin, my hair, my eyes, and the qualities of the body. I will be more flex. Let's say if I drink a lot of water from the tap and bad water, my body will be very calcified. I won't be able to be stretching a lot of my body, and I'll be maybe a little bit denser on certain parts with big bones and etc. So that's a good example by water, how you impact your physical body in your next life if your whole life didn't care what kind of water you're drinking. And karma works like that.
Wait, the water I drink now will impact my physical body in the next life, or you're giving
Yes,
it
my bone specifically. I'm able, because you're feeding the etheric body through the water. It's the water body. If you are drinking low quality of water, of course, now your body will be bad after 40 years, but also you're preparing for your next life, your body to have the stamp of this bad experience. And let's say the first 7 years of your life will be strongly impacted by that, because our deeds also, they relate in years. If now in my life until the year of 21, I did whatever I did. That was from my past life, karma and dharma.
till 21.
Yes, until 21. Let's say in my past life, I probably had some interest in movement and music, and I needed to finish off because I was a dancer in the beginning of my life. And I finished off something in my previous life that I started in the end. And when I incarnated, I needed to finish something smaller then, because now I don't have that interest in that profession anymore. Now I'm into agriculture.
You booked yourself out in the first 20, 30 years.
Yeah. You kind of, it's actually by spiritual science, it's until the age of 14, because then your astral body comes and it starts, okay, now let's take this new thing that I'm coming for. The natal chart starts to kind of flourish more after the age of 14. So it's the stages are between 0, 21, 21 and 42. And after 42, you're bringing the completely new thing into the world.
So what are you doing between 21 and 42?
You are developing qualities that are based for this life, but you're learning them. Because for you to be capable of something, you need at least 5, 6 years to be really capable of this.
Yeah.
So you kind of start apprenticing. You're becoming an apprentice into a business, then you're making few mistakes, then you're starting a company, then you lose, and then you're kind of moving away. If you're going on your path cleanly, you can start from 35 to really bring your quality to this incarnation. And after 42, you're kind of keeping the business or the job going. So you're giving like a flower. You're giving to the world the beauty and the fragrance.
It seems like the hardest part of life is around from 21 to 42 when you're developing those new talents and skills.
In Anthroposophy, that's the time of the sun. It's the sun period. It's 21 years. So you're really raying out your sun essence.
Little by little, gradually.
Yeah, little by little, until it kind of evolves. And so around 33, of course, you're in the middle point when you're like feeling comfortable and say, okay, I'm going to give myself to this or to that. And after 42, you're keeping the business on your work. And then around 63, you're kind of giving your fruits to the world and you're preparing everything you do after 63, kind of. It's not by law. You're starting to prepare for your next incarnation. Even if you don't want to do it, even if you don't know that you're doing it, everything that you think, you feel, you did, you will becomes your first 7 years of your life, your first 14 years of your life.
So after 60, after
Yes, after 63, usually.
oh.
That's the Saturn age finishes 63. So you're beyond the esoteric astrology between the moon and Saturn. You finished Saturn and you're going over into the higher Devakan and you're starting, okay, now it's outside of the physical. It's spiritualizing energy, spiritualizing thoughts and things that you're doing. Because we know in the past, many people, when they get to 60, they start writing and giving back to the world their book or their personal life story. They're reviewing it. So they're doing a spiritual exercise of their whole life.
Oh,
That
it is a spirit. This is one of the most important spiritual exercises, according to Rudolf Steiner. Every night you go to bed, examine the whole day and what was good, what was good you could have done better, what you're kind of happy with. And actually, people after 60 naturally start doing this by writing a book or telling, like a lot of other people talk about
yeah,
themselves in the
yeah,
earlier life. And the
yeah.
wow.
But if you have been a spiritually guided person, you're doing the Rukshao every day of your life, or after 30, let's say. And when you go to 65, you don't need to review and tell your stories, but you have so much spiritual energy and you're closer to the spiritual, so you can grasp and bring stories. And that's when art really comes. You write a novel, or you make a movie nowadays, or you make music, or you open a company and you make a spiritual logo, very esoteric, and start impacting the world by bringing something that was okay. The spiritual world says, you can use me now. Okay, we're going to put energy through you. And you start giving something that's completely new, completely.
So you
And
have
that's,
like a chance of a third rebirth there, new energy. So it doesn't end like they say, oh, till 40, if you didn't invent to think of something. But we've seen, I have clients that at 70 start a business with something they've never done. And like KFC guy as well. He made KFC at 70 something. So there is
yeah,
opportunity even after 60 to
absolutely. I think even a very, very famous African actor, he usually plays Morgan Freeman.
Morgan Freedom. Yeah.
Morgan Freeman. He started around 60 to be an actor, and now he's super famous,
Yeah.
super famous. So he kind of really found something clicked really for him.
So art is for later years even better. This is
Yeah,
fantastic.
I know. Rudolf Steiner said, I thought of a book when I was 28. When I was 35, I continued thinking about the book. And when I was only 49, I wrote the book.
Wow.
He planted the seeds. He said, I needed to experience, I needed more to really furnish it. And then you allow yourself to kind of, and not oh, I'm 29, ChatGPT, please help me out, let's have the book in a 20 day period. It needs to fruit within you, the spiritual world, to put the seeds, to fertilize you, to give you
Wow,
uh
I absolutely love that. It gives so much hope for the whole life story because it's not 40, 60 is the end. It's a new rebirth, a new spiritual inspirations open towards you and opportunities. And you said that what you've done at the end of your life, so maybe you pick up singing at 60 or painting, you start doing it the first 20 years of the next life with a lot of passion.
yeah. And that's a way that you can actually review now. In your first 7, 10 years, you review your life and you say, oh, okay, so maybe in the end of my life, you allow yourself that thought. And then if you allow yourself to think like that, in 1 year allowing yourself to think, something will appear. So the more you hold the concept, let's say if you learned that this is red. And when you start seeing it in the world, you say, oh, that's red, but it's a different type of a red. And then you recognize, oh, yeah, these are red, but they're different. So the thought about karma is allowing yourself that it has a law and observing it. Because let's say I learned about this concepts that I'm giving 7 years ago. But until now, I've seen it work within plants, within animals, within my wife, within my son. And now it reconfirms itself,
Mhm.
but through different expressions.
So we shouldn't rush, like you said, you're 28. I have to write this book. I want to be a writer. Sometimes it's okay to give yourself the time until it comes as a strong impulse and clear
Yeah.
impulse. And
Well, you kind of write your concept, you build your concept, and you see where I don't get things. And then you don't say, okay, I'll just put this in here so it's kind of finished. No, you allow the spiritual idea to build itself within you. And you don't just slap something, let's say pineapple into a tomato salad because it's exotic. It needs, if the pineapple said I like the tomato, that's fine. But if you said, yeah, that it's gonna be innovative, that's not downloading information from the spiritual world.
I just,
Uh,
again, like, for example, I always wanted to play an instrument or sing, but I never like have enough, to go and do
yeah.
it. Maybe, as you say, after 60 on the third rebirth kind of.
Well, I had this with my son. Now he started going. I wanted him to have music a lot in his first 3 years. My wife usually she plays the piano very well. Now he started going into kindergarten. Just for one day, everything changed. Now he sings, they play music together. It's because he was ready. So it's like within us, the talent will come out or an interest, it will allow itself to show. But when I come
I
and
beat
say,
myself a lot. Why don't you do it? You should, but obviously I don't have enough impulse, so I shouldn't beat myself about it. I should allow it to come when it's strong enough naturally and grab it rather than make plans because I've made plans. And I don't follow through because obviously the impulse is not strong enough.
it's even with spiritual meditations, I'm preparing here for a course to give, and I prepare myself with Rudolf Steiner, surely. And he says, even meditations, if you try it a few times and it doesn't kind of click with you, choose another one and another one. And until you have the feeling, oh man, I'm hungry for this meditation,
Yes.
then you do it. It's
Only
because,
then you'll stick with it. There is no
yeah,
other way on otherwise.
but that doesn't mean that you stick with it because it's easy. Because some people say, yeah, but you're not learning like that. It's not about running away from hard tasks. It's about building yourself to the hard tasks, to ones that are easier and then intermediate for you, and then you go to the hardcore meditations. Because some people tell me, oh, I didn't do it, I fell asleep or something. It's like, yeah, you are learning. Consciousness has it needs energy. And the soul, to be able to concentrate, it needs energy to be built up slowly. It's like you go into the gym and you pick up 200 pounds, just like that. And then you say, oh, I'm so bad. You just need to build yourself up for the bigger concepts.
Okay, one last question in respect to what you're talking about. Many psychologists or experts or whatever say, if someone goes and says, I know what to do, I'm in my 30s, 40s, 50s, I don't have any interest or profession, or what should I do, like passion? They say, well, go back to your childhood and see what you like to play when you're 7, 8, 9. So maybe that's what should be your career because you are so passionate about that. But you're saying here that it's not necessarily at all like this, because
It's
you might be just when you are till 14, 15, 20, you might be just finishing things you like from a past lifetime that you didn't complete, but it's not for you in this lifetime. And
I even looked at with this through my personal chart with Chiron and Saturn, so Saturn, especially because of the first 15 years of your life before the Saturn return, because he goes opposite your personal return, your personal Saturn. And the first 14 years of Saturn, because Saturn is the karmic planet, which is known in astrology, I'm going to break that concept soon. It's you really work with the past deeds in the first 14 years. Even your fact that your parents are your parents, that in the kindergarten you are with certain people, you are finishing off something. You're really finishing. Because after the first North Node return in 18 years, you're completely changing your environment. You're going to university, and then there's other people. Yeah, maybe one or two people are stick with you because you have personal work with them to do, but mostly of your life changes. And psychologists, they should work with the soul, but they're not learning spiritual soul reality. They're learning the kind of scientific soul reality of nowadays intellectual thinking. And that's looping away from the actual, they have a lot of numbers that they got right, psychology, uh, but they're missing the spirit within the link of that. And even your past life and now your present life might be connected, that you become a ballerina when you're 7 and you're a ballerina until 42, and then you get an injury. And that these moments, these big crashes in your life really point that something's changing. I have a friend that she's a Gemini, and at the age of 7 she breaks her 2 wrists. That's the first square of Saturn to her Saturn and the Gemini. So something kind of says it needs to drastically change. And that's where the parents come. They need to not press the child towards their own. That's why Rudolf Steiner says pedagogy is about observing the spiritual character of the child and where it wants to go. And here within that topic, actually pedagogy in the first 7 years is you're working all with karma and dharma of the children. You're observing one child abuses another. It's because the abused one has done something bad to the person in the past life, and the guy needs to pay the deed of 500 cows that the other guy stole or something of that sort of a previous incarnation. And that's an easy way that a destiny kind of plays out. You're not going to run away from your destiny. That's what they say in the Bible also. Because when they get you in the kindergarten on your young years, you cannot do anything about it. You're a child. Your
Yeah.
father will slap you, your mother will yell at you, or they're going to love you very much, or your brother will kick you, or he's going to be good with you, or whatever. You cannot run away from these aspects. And that's how you kind of level things out. And the biggest karma relationships that you see is in a kindergarten when the teacher is in the toilet. All the children play out everything that needs to be played out. That's why nowadays when we say you shouldn't fight, or you shouldn't scream to each other, or you shouldn't say things, we are softening the karma. I'm not saying you should allow your children in the kindergarten to fight, but you should allow when they're outdoors and when they start, it's not really fighting, but they're kind of playing around more hardly with each other. They're playing around the density that they had in a previous life because they need to release it from an emotional aspect. The astral body keeps it. It brings it, it brings it, it brings it. It impacts the etheric body. And when two children meet, they're going to say, oh, I don't like him.
Yeah.
And that's the etheric body with the other etheric body. They feel each other from a previous life.
Yes.
They vibrate it out. And when you see someone and you completely like him and you love him and you don't know why, then you kind of remember that in a previous life, if if I see someone and I say, oh my God, this person is so nice, it's because he has loved me in your previous life.
Not you loved them, they loved you.
Yes,
So
he has loved me, and now I reflect that.
so someone gets some say a girl is with a boy, the boy breaks her heart, leaves her, doesn't care about her. but in the next life he sees her and he says, I really like this person because the girl
Because
loves him.
she continued loving him, yes.
Oh.
I mean, if it's a continuous, it's not just a little spark that you had. It's the feeling that we have when we're younger. It has been a continuous love. Let's say now you love your aunt and she doesn't know about it, and you pray about her, and your aunt becomes a man in your next life, and he wants to help you somehow. You are not even related, but he wants to donate for your business. He feels that urge because he now being a he has received love. And now energy, when people say, oh, love is everything, we can live with love. Not yet. We're investing that in the next life. Love turns into a deed. It's not only a feeling.
So the more loving you are to others, and sometimes you can't force yourself to love others, but this will come back to you in the next life, not in this one, through those people loving you, helping you themselves. Okay.
Yes, you will meet them in your life. That's why nothing gets lost. When you say, oh yeah, I'm loving him and he's just bad with me. Even Ben Saduno said to a woman that her husband is with another woman and continuously, but they're together still. And he tells her, pray for your husband. And she prays and prays and prays. And then after 15 years, he dies. And she says, nothing changed. And he says, no, everything changed, but in the next life.
How many of us are like that, saints?
Yes. But can you imagine now in your next life, that woman will be born in a family, a wealthy family, and she'll have good education, and she'll be fed good organic food and etc. And maybe her first 14 or 18 years will be in a delight because she has suffered and had hardship. And this is one of the topics.
Oh.
Rudolf Steiner mentions that wisdom in a present life has been a real let me just, because I have a few notes. It was a real suffering in a previous life, because only through hardship and suffering you gain a lot of information, even if you don't reflect. The astral body and the soul gain. When you go into the spiritual world, they separate all the experiences and knowledge and say, okay, let's put it into structure, and then you become wise. All that suffering becomes a structure.
So
And then you're,
basically, Saturn, which is suffering, in this life turns into Jupiter, which is wisdom in the next one.
yeah, and
Intuitive
he might turn into Venus
as well.
also,
Okay.
because it becomes beauty. You've endured a lot, physical or emotional.
Without becoming evil and without revenging and without cursing the other person.
Yes, exactly. That's enduring. The
Mhm.
other thing is not enduring. You're just reflecting the bad behavior. It's usually the people who kind of calmly continue with their life, although anything has happened. And
Do
that's,
we have to allow this person to hurt us in this lifetime and just keep praying for them, and or do we withdraw ourselves from them?
I mean, you can, depends. Let's say in the situation of being Saduno, the woman didn't want to divorce and run away somewhere. She felt that she has some kind of a connection with him. I think that's also, that's where the law, the karmic law is very malleable. So
Mhm.
don't take these things um, as law, because people will comment now. What about these 50,000 children in India? What about them? Are they going to become wise in their next life?
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a good comment. But
You're sabotaging your own teachings.
no, but it's very important to know that these things are practical. And when people say that, there's an answer to that. These people, let's say these 50,000 children that are now not eating enough food and are bad in a bad situation, in their next incarnation, probably they will be the teachers in America that will need to be in the schools to teach how people to be moral. That's a correct thinking. I'll give a very good example. A very famous doctor. He was not a doctor, actually, in the end of his life. He was sick. He didn't know how to, and nobody knew how to cure him. He had a stomach problem. And he walked and gave money and tried flowers and whatever. And in the end of his life, he found out how to potentize homeopathically flowers. And from all the suffering that he endured all his life, he was able into the end of his life to make the Bach remedies.
This is Dr. Bach. Oh,
This
wow.
is this is partly of the story of Dr. Bach, because I think in a previous life, I've read it somewhere that he had a very big illness. Rudolf Steiner mentions that. If you have a very big illness and you've suffered and suffered and suffered, not you just died after a week of this illness, 10, 20, 15 years, 30 years, in the next life, your soul has integrated the organs that suffered, the cells that suffered, the foods that you're not able to eat, what happened with your hair, your eyes. It's a whole academic cycle for your body and for your soul. It's structured in the spiritual world, and then you're born in a situation that you're funded and you're making a certain kind of not a lekarstvo, a cure.
Sure.
You make the cure for that whole disease. So actually bad aspects for us in the present life are the way how we deal with them in the next life. So all the suffering will give birth to people who will be moral and they will change the world. That's why epidemics, when an epidemic happens, 20,000 people are just like that, disappeared, even more. So in the next life, these people will be the people who will lead towards social understanding of hygiene or
Wow.
bacteria or whatever. And they're changing the world like that. And that's collective karma. This is worldly karma. So when 20 people are in a bad situation, it's not because they were bad, but because the archangel needs these people to learn and use that. That's why we don't say death and life are not necessarily something bad and something good. They're just part of the awakening of consciousness and of the spirit within reality.
So those big tragedies and like you said, pandemics, and actually these are the tools of God.
They are tools. Yes, very well said. And they're partly the mistakes of the freedom that we have.
Oh, as well.
Yeah, they're partly because when you're free and you're a child, you hit your head, you hit your elbow, not because you're bad, but because you're learning. You're free to make a choice.
And after that, you're not gonna burn your hand again. I was reading a story of a girl who spontaneously remembered the past life. And in the past life, she lived in the 60s and died from overdose. She was like drugs and whatever, hippie kind of. And she says, interesting enough, that in this lifetime, I hate all drugs, alcohol. I'm not going close to them. I've never been attracted. So sometimes something like that extreme, and like you say, you restructure that experience in the afterlife and you come back free of such kind of inclinations.
Exactly. And with this, I'm going to give one of my points is professions, certain professions or things that we were doing well in the previous life. Let's say a mathematician, I mean, mathematics was your way of living. In your next life, you will be very bad at math, very bad.
That's exactly the opposite of what everyone thinks about past lifetimes.
Yes, exactly. But the logic is going behind that you are born for something different. You need to not have interested in math. You need to depress that because you've developed the qualities of math in your previous life. So they're depressing your astral body and your angel, you're depressing the situation. So you kind of don't give attention to that. It doesn't mean you are very dumb and you don't know anything about math, but you are an average.
Yes.
So now in schools we go, oh, you have to learn that, yeah. Actually, no, observe the children. If they're very good at something, it's because their soul is going towards that. And
Oh,
if you're very not if you're average or bad at something, yeah, give it attention so he kind of finishes school, but don't put him into a situation that this will turn into his job.
wow. Beautiful. But what about those kids that are born with an incredible talent, Mozart, whatever? It's like, how would that, how is
Yeah, that's the private situations from the spiritual law. I'm gonna separate your questions into two. There is a situations where this is not true, and this is when, if in a previous life you have been a mathematician, but something happened, and now around 35 you passed by anything, it could be the reason. You didn't finish your North Node of being a mathematician. So in your next life, it will repeat. But then, because you had around 40 years of etheric energy in your life, they will condense in your next life. And then it's like you're living a double incarnation of etheric energy. So you probably will become a very good teacher. You'll become famous with mathematics, or you will publish a journal, or you start teaching other mathematicians.
from
So
an
this,
early age already, you'll be very
yeah,
good.
you'll be smarter. Yeah, you'll be kind of more.
So it was like interrupted mission in a past lifetime. You didn't finish it. And in some cases, people that come very talented children, okay, but if you've lived out your doctorates, you died at 60, 70, whatever, 80, and
You've
the
used that.
next life you will be like, oh, Matt, no, I
Yeah.
want to play drum. I must have been a great singer in a past lifetime because I bray like a donkey now. That's good to know because I thought like maybe there's something wrong with me, but no.
And Mozart is a completely different example. Mozart has is that's from
I'm here, don't worry.
you're here. Okay. Mozart has been he's not a spiritual teacher, but he's someone who is from the highly developed spirits on earth. And when you see a genius living to a age of 30 or 32 or something that's too early for him to die, then you know that this talent, because Mozart gave um, music and operas for 3 incarnations, 5 incarnations. It was very dense. And when someone does that and changes the whole situation of the subject that did that music, he was a talented spiritual guide, and he needed to incarnate again very soon. And that's why people like that die earlier, because they need to incarnate quickly. So he lived 30 years, but he actually lived 90. If
Yeah,
someone knows this, though,
35 years he did.
yeah,
Well,
he passed.
Michael Jackson, look at him as well. I think he's from another realm, the
Yeah,
music
Michael Jackson changed a lot of the world, absolutely.
of the music.
And then they die, and in 20 years they're back again. But they are back again in another form, of course. Not necessarily as a super talented one, but they could be someone that helps imprison many people, tens of thousands every Saturday and Sunday. So they need to come back quickly so they can give to the world because they have the strength to do that. So
Oh.
that's a law for spiritual guides that they not necessarily need to live a whole life.
So it's best that you have kind of a above average kids, but not too brilliant if you don't want them leaving.
Well, really, this is now another concept I will bring. That's why Waldorf is big in arts, because arts, let's say weaving, if a child learns to weave and weaves for 3, 4 years in childhood, they are weaving off past karma and deeds from past life, at mismanaging their intellectuality. So if you studied something that's completely unnecessary for the world, and you have the chance to go into a public school and learn again this nonsense, if the child goes into a Waldorf school or his parents know how to manage his qualities, they will give him to weave, and he will dismantle the old intellectual way of thinking. So you're working karmically with your child, and he will weave new way of thinking and conceptualizing for this incarnation.
Oh my God, that's beautiful, very symbolic. It's almost like Waldorf schools that Steiner created. They're not programming the kids in the first 7, 14 years. They're deprogramming the kids.
That's why I personally think that Steiner schools are a place where it helps you to spiritually restart a little bit and to kind of give a good start to your north node, because really in public schools now they can stop your north node very easily. And Steiner says there's millions of people now not living their destiny. They're just losing the destiny that they need to live, and they go completely off track for their whole life. And
Oh,
nowadays, spirituality teaches a completely other thing. They say, oh, it will find its way.
exactly. That's what I was gonna say. That, oh, whatever's for you, it will come. You say no.
It will find its way if you kind of start thinking intellectually and conceptualize wrongly, even about science, because you can it's based on your thinking. If you learn how to think improperly, it's like drawing very ugly, and all your life you're going to draw like that.
Mhm.
So you're kind of stuck, and you can make such hardships for your next life that you actually build your suffering for your next life absolutely unconsciously.
Wow. So they can be wasted lives where you don't find your destiny, and the soul had a destiny. Oh, had. Well,
Yeah,
obviously it's not lost because
it's not lost. Yeah.
that loss in the next lifetime you try harder or whatever.
It's usually there's Rudolf Steiner gives an example for 3 lives
Mhm.
in consequence. Let's say if one life you're not interested from the world around you, and you're just based in yourself, and you say, oh, my business, me, my family, my animals, my garden. In your next life, your body will be very easily becoming to illness. And if you don't find yourself or some philosophy to develop, and you continue in this Western kind of keeping up the life, then in the third life, you will be retarded.
Oh my God.
So that's a negative buildup of 3 karmic uh,
Selfish,
lives.
self-interest kind of.
Yes. And that's how we see nowadays there's very ugly things happening in the world, because the people from the past, let's say from 3,000 years ago, they've built up incarnations where they ended up in bad situations, and they continued doing that. And then in their next incarnation, they continued even more. And that's how a very, very bad situation builds up until you kind of end up into thinking about suicide or almost making suicide, when it kind of everything breaks and you start building up slowly. You say, oh, yoga or eating or etc., etc., etc.
Consciously. But isn't it, again, that's a lot of self-absorption. Oh, I know people that all they care is their calories, how they should eat healthy, all their healthy routines. It's again kind of a selfish self-focus, isn't it, a bit?
If you serve, if you take care of yourself and your job serves to other people, then that's fine.
Okay.
Yeah, it's a healthy egoism, I call it.
Okay.
Yeah, so you're making yourself better to be a better part for the world.
Okay.
But if you're doing that and then you go to, I don't know, some island, and then you go and buy yourself a car, and then you do it, and everything's for your close circle, then you're not in service. That's the important thing. Somehow to find yourself to be of service. And In the body, the cells that are egoists are the cancer cells.
Oh, so
So when
cancer.
you see, that's from Steiner, when you see that your body is starting to, you have a tumor or something, or they find you a cancer, you've been too egoistic in your life. And your body,
I can
it
give you
ended
an
up in,
example. Sometimes people that actually break their backs from others, like a mom that all she worries is for her kids to take care of others. She neglects herself. She gets cancer. What
she
does?
neglects herself, you said.
Oh, no, she's like I know for example a woman who she lived for others, not for herself, her whole family, and then she gets
Uh-huh. Yeah.
how that be
Of
explained?
course, that's a private matter, and that needs to be looked at with her history. Because of course, giving yourself, even that's a good topic you opened. For you to gain a talent in a next life, it can come in that way. If you've given yourself to people and you try to do the correct things and etc., and then something worse comes on top of you, that's not destiny punishing you for being good. It's actually life puts more pressure on people who can withstand the pressure. And even if we don't withstand the pressure, in the next life, destiny says, okay, now you're gonna have a very good start. And they give you, let's say she's gonna be a clairvoyant, or she's gonna have a sense that she can do so any talent, it will be brought.
Mhm.
And Steiner mentions that sometimes destiny works like that, that she kind of gives you dharma beforehand, but in a very strange way. Seems like you're being tortured
Karma. You mean karma before
before dharma, yeah.
done anything wrong?
Yeah, you haven't done anything wrong. Also, you can, it could be a karma. If you're 42, let's say, it depends when you found it, the ages of the karmic situations between the change of a sun into a Mars into a Jupiter. Those are the 7 years periods. Karma is so complex that now let's take you as an example. I know you, but maybe I met you 5 incarnations ago, and through these 5 incarnations, I met you once or twice, and you needed water in the desert. And I gave you water once or twice, and nothing came out. And now in these incarnations, these 5 meetings that we had are paying out. You are helping me now because I'm on your platform. Thanks to you, I'm becoming famous. And now you're repaying me the deeds through these 5 times in past lives that I said, okay, of course, here you go. That's just water. So the complexity of the astral world, it can bring situations with this lady with the cancer. It can bring something from very past, from the very past, and that can connect with a certain freedom choice that she made. Because there's situations that we say, oh, but I didn't have any choice. You had a choice,
Mhm.
but you closed your eyes intentionally not to choose the other thing. And I have really good examples of a mother choosing to move away from a responsibility because she was afraid of doing the right thing. And even she after 40 years, you cannot say she doesn't remember. But when I worked with her, she remembered. She really remembered that she was 20 years old and she was afraid. Of course, she is afraid. She's very young. She made a choice from fear, not from the moral righteousness. And it's easy to slip in that, of course, when fear evolves, it kind of
Mhm.
clouds our judgment. So those are private situations need to be looked concretely at certain ages and in certain choices that they've made. That's why I said this is going to be just broad strokes about karma and kind of how it works.
Mhm.
And I want to give a physical example because those were emotions and thoughts and jobs and etc. in our physical body that it can be observed. A child has 20 teeth that it changes around the age of between 7 and 9, changes all the teeth. 16 or 20 teeth, it's not always. The teeth of the first 9-10 years are actually a physical organ from a previous body. That's why the child needs to change them. It changes the whole conceptuality of the physical body. So if you had the bad teeth because you ate a lot of sugar or whatever, it tells you what your fingers of your hands of your legs were. Because the fingers in a present incarnation, because there are 20 fingers, in the next incarnation, they are our teeth till the age of 9.
They're our baby teeth.
Yes, our baby teeth, the milk teeth. And physically. And that's why Waldorf says, what I do with my fingers. If I click the mouse, or if I smoke cigarettes, or if whatever you were doing, or counting coins, or slapping the child, or whatever, or if I were a boxer, in the next incarnation, this will say, okay, you did your thing, we need to transform it. And if people looked into astrology, even if you see the wheel of astrology, of the 12 of the parts, Aries until Pisces, the head touches the back feet. It goes in strips like this. Some very old astrological pictures, they're like this. But actually, Rudolf Steiner says the person goes with the hands backwards through the spine. The feet go backwards, and the feet and the fingers touch with the fingers.
Oh, yes. Yes.
The feet and the
Yes.
fingers to go back on with the spine.
Yes.
And he says that body, when you form like this, it's the head, and the teeth touch between the fingers.
And the
Now,
toes.
this is metamorphosis, karmic metamorphosis of the body. And there's another thing, I'm just gonna throw that. So our present fingers are our future teeth.
Baby teeth.
Baby teeth. And the point of the head when we're a baby and it's very soft, the fontanelle, our present fontanelle is the previous, or it's the future. Let me just think about it a little bit. It's our fontanelle now, how we use our pineal gland and etc., will be our belly button, our spinal, the connection between the mother and the child.
The
cord, umbilical cord.
Umbilical.
The umbilical cord. So because this is our way of connecting with the higher spiritual world, but for the baby, the connection with the mother Sophia is the umbilical cord, where they feed you nourishment, physical nourishment. Now I feed myself with spiritual nourishment, and that's how spirituality changes into the physical again.
So if you have the fun here, it's connected to your relationship to higher world, this part of the head, your relationship to God, to higher principles. If you have striving towards trying your best, then in the next incarnation, you have a very healthy umbilical cord from the mom coming towards you and doing a healthier body for you overall.
Yeah, just imagine. Now I'm speaking with God very devotedly. Then I am asking or building a situation that, not even in the next one, but one after that I am asking for a mother that will think like that when I'm within her womb.
So like a more elevated soul mother.
Yes.
Who makes you feel loved, nurtured, who makes you
Yes.
feel like embraced by God.
Yes. Even if the mother is not like that after you're born, she will feel, and you will bring that with you because so exciting topic. When the mother is pregnant, The soul body comes to the mother and starts to mingle with her. This is the only time, I mentioned that before, where you have two souls around one body.
Yeah.
And she will be in the dreaming of your spiritual essence, and you will bring that, and she will produce it for you, because you cannot produce it for yourself. You don't have a nervous system to do it. So actually, you're doing that for yourself. Like, truthfully, you are bringing that to your mother. I had that with my mother. She told me that when I was in her, she became vegetarian immediately, without any idea why. After that, she started eating meat again.
Yeah.
And I was already an anthroposophist when she told me that. And I was like, wow, it really works, this
You
whole
striving
concept.
to God in a past lifetime, it brought your mom that while she was pregnant, she expressed those principles herself and gave it on to you to build such body for a vegetarian.
For a vegetarian, yeah.
Some people can't. They'll kill
Yeah,
if they die.
yeah, absolutely, yeah. And so that's based in many, many relationships in the past. And I prepared a example of personalities, because I know our time is moving quick.
I don't want this conversation to end. Most beautiful, fascinating, revelatory. I get goosebumps all the time. I love it. Thank you.
This is for famous people. I'm going to give example because it will be easier for people who are watching this to track it. Elijah from the Old Testament, he's a very exalted spiritual leader of humanity. Elijah, in the Bible, they don't say that he dies. He was taken by God. But Elijah in the New Testament is actually another personality. And this is, I've had a lot of conversations with Orthodox or Protestant or any Christian pastors, that the Christ mentions that Elijah had been reborn into John the Baptist.
Yes,
The
that's
Baptist.
it is. It is known in the Bible.
Yes, it is known, but they kind of move it away that it's not like that, because you cannot be reborn if you are taken by God, because Elijah didn't die. Rudolf Steiner makes an investigation of that into the spiritual world. He looks into the soul, he communicates, and etc. So we look into a good example of a person who he's not dead, and after that he loses his head, because John the Baptist loses his head. They
Yeah.
uh,
The
yeah,
daughter of King, what was his name? Irad, asked him to cut his.
yes, she asked for his head.
She was in love with him, and he rebuked her, and
Yeah,
it was her
yeah.
revenge.
And if you see Elijah, his task evolves, but it's rolling around the same type of preaching to the world, because after that baptizes into the new way. So into the New Testament, he accepts the Christ, and he brings the Aquarius type of thinking for the Aquarian age. After that, he gets born as Raphael, the painter.
Oh, wow.
And in the painter, you see everything in a very good podrobnosti,
Detail.
in a very good detail, how Raphael describes the New Testament into his paintings, and the times of Christ, and a little bit after that, the church times. So he brings his knowledge from them, and he doesn't become a preacher. He puts his preaching into the paintings,
Or
and they are very respected. He's so respected, Raphael, and his paintings, and they become people learn from that
yeah.
history, and of course painting. And then he brings that understanding again back as Novalis,
Oh, he
a writer.
reincarnated again, Novalis. Okay.
Yes,
But
he
he
gets
lived
reborn
very
again.
short life.
Yes,
He's a very
yes,
involved soul, obviously, the soul of Moses, Elijah, sorry, John the Baptist, the same spirit.
exactly. He doesn't live long lives. He doesn't. And
Yeah.
as Novalis,
Ah, No, no, I lost you.
He
Sorry, sorry. Can you repeat again? I've
into a
lost.
more contemporary way. Here.
Sorry, sorry.
Okay. So
It stopped when you said as novalis. After that, everything cut out.
yes, as Novalis, he condenses all that philosophy and religion and beauty of the painting. So we see how truth, spiritual knowledge, becomes beauty into the paintings, and then it goes into literature. It expresses itself again through the themes of love. Novalis really speaks about love into complex matters, and he inspires this esoteric Christology into the love of Christ.
Oh my God. So
And
beautiful.
it's really, of course, he had different incarnations in between these, but those are that people can now read the book, they can see the painting, they can see the story, because sometimes we have incarnations that we're just nobody, mostly that you're nobody, and you cannot really follow if you're trying to study. And Rudolf Steiner gives few examples of that, uh, of important teachers and how they moved through their development. And then a person can really learn how to see, how to look. So that's a new way of clairvoyance. It's called, it's attained by knowledge that we practice the karmic understanding. We don't need to go into hypnosis to see our past karma, or to become clairvoyant. Through thinking, one can observe something that now he holds, or that another person that he finds in his life, or even now, if I have a love life with my wife, or my wife with me, or for 20, 30 years, and we love each other very deeply, and we make love physically, and we really bring that love, then you could be certain that in a next life or in the life after that, you will be family members. You'll be
Oh,
brother, sister, cousins. You will be bloodly related.
so blood relatives are past lovers?
Yeah, a past love that has been practiced. I mean, you can make presents and hugs, and it doesn't need to be love only,
Uh-huh.
but the deeds of love, the emotions that have been a very good friend. You have a very good friend that for 40 years he has always been there for you and he helped you a lot and etc. And this friendship love, that it's higher moral love actually, it will physicalize
An
with blood.
unconditional love of family members. But what when you have family members, you hate each other? Hate
That's
you hate your sister or whatever.
if you start to dislike your family members, past karma is saying you you've finished your work together. When something negative starts to come back, it's actually trying to tell you that this karmic relationship has finished and it needs to be stopped. And that's why life presents situations to put you in bad relationships between each other.
Oh, what if your parents, their parents that start abusing their child from the age of 2, 3? What is that?
Uh,
That's something else. That's
Well,
something different.
I prefer answering to that only in a private conversation with that person.
All right.
Yeah.
And by the way, if you'd like to contact Theo, incredible teacher, he says, I'm not going to cyclically look into past lifetimes, but I'm going to help the person through noticing those details of their life to figure out those connections. That's how you work, isn't it?
Yeah. Yeah.
So if you'd like to have a deeper understanding about a certain connection you have with a loved one, with a yearning for someone, to have the deepest spiritual reasons without going into hypnosis, without this, by noticing, like by this new spirituality of, like Rudolf Steiner, like Theo said, of logical, intellectual noticing, you said?
Consciously.
Consciously observing. Contact Theo. He's an incredible teacher. Every time we have a reading, a conversation with him, I can't wait. Please do come back soon. Maybe we can carry on the same topic. I absolutely love it.
I have 15 more points, so yeah. Just
Okay, carrying
just
on.
to, just to finish that about people. I've been in contact with many people who are healers and helping others and writing books. And I've been really surprised that actually people who have influence on other people are interested into developing better what they're already doing. So guys, feel free to, I'm here just even for a talk.
Thank you. Absolutely stunning. Such insights. Thank you, everyone, for joining us. I think you were blown away by a lot of the information that is so different than the pop spirituality of New Age nowadays. But this is esoteric knowledge. And thank you, Theo, for introducing it to us.
See you guys. Bye.